What's up and welcome to Champions of Lore, a show about all the kick-ass stories behind some of Idle Champion's coolest campaigns and characters. Every Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time here on twitch.tv/CNE Games or later on your favorite podcast service, Dave Walters and Erin M. Evans talk about all the Idle Champions lore that's fun to know about. If you're here with us live in the chat, you can leave a question that I, Treavor Bettis, will ask them later in the show. But until then, Erin, Dave, take it away.
I am Erin M. Evans. I am the author of the Brimstone Angels Saga, a 6-book series set in the Forgotten Realms, which features 3 of your favorite Idle Champions, Frida, Havilar, and Mehen.
Yes.
I also play Cecilia on Dungeon Scrawlers.
Yeah.
Dave Walters, I say words about things. We're all happy because we got happy news that we can't talk about here because we'll get shot with NDA bullets. But it's happy news. So
it's very happy news.
So it is a grand day. Celebrate with us, people. Things that you do not know, for which we are pip-pipping and cheerioing.
Yes.
But it is a grand day.
Raise a glass, you'll find out later.
Exactly. Raise a glass to
I like
NDAs. Yeah. And I do that thing you just saw. I do that all over the place. I will just say I just posted a new DM tips video, so if you go on my Twitter at Dave Walters, you can see me answering questions about how to do the thing. And we've also established that the B in Dave Walters may stand for Bettis. It's not Bettis.
It's not Bettis.
It's not Bettis. Yeah.
Or he's one of the Bettis side.
we are the Bettis side. We hearken unto thee, weary traveler. We are the Bettis side.
Love it.
But we're here today to talk about Paladins, because a new champion is coming this week on Wednesday. Selise Astorio, Cipher of Tier character Tanya Depass, from Rivals of Waterdeep, and what I gotta be honest, one of the reasons I'm so excited about this character is because she's just in full freaking plate and looks like she's ready to freaking go, and I love those characters.
Yeah. She looks very strong. Yep.
Yes, very strong.
Very strong and like done with this nonsense.
Yes.
I mean, Tanya's a dear friend, and I feel like that describes her fairly accurately.
I love it.
If you do want to know more about her, there is a spotlight up on Codename Entertainment's website, as well as a quick little interview with Todd Kenrick on the YouTube channel, so you can check that out. Hear Tanya talk about her character herself and why she's so excited for her to be in Idle Champions. But Paladins, where we want to start with Paladins.
You know, it's funny.
Oh, go ahead.
So you all know that my character Freely that I play, who is also an Idle Champions, and you should have in your formation, has a couple of classes, 1 or
Just
4.
a few.
Yeah,
just a few.
Just the necessary ones.
As I was reading the topics of the things we're going to talk about in coming weeks, no spoilers, I was like, oh, that's Freely. Oh, that's Freely. No, that's Freely. Also, that's Freely. You know, yeah. Paladins are more proactive clerics.
Like that. It's like a paladin's what you play when you want to play a cleric, but you also want to play a fighter.
Yeah.
But I like more proactive clerics in particular.
Yeah.
It's like it's direct action cleric.
Yeah. Which is it's interesting because in
lay on hands really just means they are more hands-on.
No, like they're gonna lay on these hands is what they're they are more hands-on, literally. They are, like Aaron said, they're cleric fighters. Basically, they can do a little bit of what clerics can do, but their shining achievement, their claim to fame, my most favorite ability in all of 5th edition, believe it or not, is Divine Smite. Anytime you hit somebody, anytime, attack of opportunities, multiple attacks, bonus actions, if you make contact, you can expend a spell slot and blow a big old chunk out of them. Which normally you don't have a lot of spell slots unless you have a monster like me who figures out how to get lots of spell slots. And you can just do it all day. Yeah.
I will say that, like, possibly one of my favorite moments of all time was in my Descent into Avernus game when the paladin in the group, Marquez, got surprised by an undead and went, ah! swung his Holy Avenger and expended a spell slot and obliterated it in one swing. It was like a surprise. You're dead.
Tanya with Selise, because I've run a few games for her where she played Selise. She guested on A Darkened Wish too with Selise. And we did one of those charity games where we had the draws of the deck of many things, which doesn't look as interesting here in the box. I just want you to know that's how much I live this life, that the deck of many things is always right there. You see how fast I got this thing?
Don't draw.
And
Don't draw. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Or do.
I always end up with a party who's like, yeah, let's put our hands all over that. No.
I mean, or yes. But one of the cards here that you can draw is you have to face death. You have to face death one-on-one in a fight. And she one-shot death with her Paladin Selise. So when you look at her Twitter bio, Cipher of Tear, where she's got Deathbane, that's why. From when she one-shot death in a game with me. But it happened. She came about it honestly.
Hell yeah.
What happens after that? I guess somebody else takes the job, but
depends.
If you're death and you're dead, then you're just like, okay, pick yourself up, go back.
Yeah, I feel like it's a setback for death, really. You know what I mean? Like it's a coffee break.
If nothing else, it's a loss of face.
That is true. I mean, literally, it got cut off with the Paladin smite, like lost face. Yeah. I think one thing we didn't mention about Paladins that sets them apart from Clerics is the Clerics have their domains, but Paladins have oaths.
Yes.
In previous editions of the game, what a Paladin was very rigid. Had to be lawful good, had to follow these like very strict restrictions that weren't necessarily that good. Now 5th edition has lightened up on that a lot. Like any Paladin can serve any god, and there's lots of different oaths you can take, which is just certain rules that you agree to live by, similar to an alignment, but I guess kind of slightly more specific than an alignment.
Yeah.
In exchange for that, there's very specific powers you get as a paladin. There's something all paladins can do, and then some things only some can do.
What oath does Freely have?
So he is Oath of Glory. Well, he was going to be Oath of Glory, to tell you the truth. But
that makes sense.
I'm not familiar with Oath of Glory.
That one came out in the Theros book.
Yes. So probably Oath of Glory. It changed a little bit. So there's probably Oath of Glory.
This is clearly a critical component of his character.
Yeah. Well, this
He's got so much stuff to keep track of.
It's true. Yeah. Well, it's because in his current iteration he doesn't have his oath yet. I've had to redo him like 4 times. Like he got it and then got de-leveled and then up again and de-leveled.
That's right.
So he was Oath of Glory from Unearthed Arcana, and Briv Steelmarrow, who is also an Idle Champions, is Oath of Glory. But he might be Oath of Devotion now, because recall, dear friends, Freely's whole thing is he's just born like this. He has never been taught anything. He could just do things.
I love the concept that he doesn't say, I woke up like this. I was born like this.
literally. Red and green hair, the whole nine. So yeah, I'm always calibrating against that. Even though I'm the crunchiest of min-maxers, I try and see things through that lens. But we'll talk more about the oaths here in a second. But that's Oath of Glory, either Oath of Glory or Oath of Devotion. I think both really fit him and his whole thing. I don't know what oath Selise is. I believe she's Oath of Vengeance.
Yeah, Oath of Vengeance.
Yeah, I believe she's Oath of Vengeance.
A dedication to Tyr, the god of justice.
That's where she's a cipher of Tyr.
Yep. I will say I think the Vengeance Oath might be just my favorite. Because the more I looked at it, I was just because I actually really liked the Avenger class from 4th edition, and I looked at it, I'm like, this is just the Avenger class as a paladin.
A lot of these things, if you've been playing the game for a while, when you go in and read them, you're like, oh, I know this. I remember this.
Familiar.
Yep.
So, well, okay. I kind of want to hold this question for later, but we can do it here. Does a paladin have to have a god? Is that ubiquitous? Where like you have like one, you can't have one without the other.
No. Freely worships no particular god. But he just does things. Like, I mean, like it's been a recurring plot point. He doesn't pray to anything. Like, he's aware they're there, but there's just something in him, and he is just an instrument. So not anymore. In the past, yes. And you definitely need to be dedicated to something. And in D&D, you've got so many options. It's very easy to pick a god, but you do not have to. No, even clerics don't have to pick gods anymore.
Yeah.
Which is
really?
wild.
Like, where does the magic? This is actually a question I have, because I've known people who've played paladins that are sort of like knights errant. And so where does the power come from then? Because if it's divine magic, the assumption is you're getting that from a connection to a deity. But
It's coming
what's
from
your answer?
inside your heart. You know? I mean, Rangers don't have to have a god either, and they cast divine magic. It just
That's the point.
I think it's just one of those things that as the game has become more flexible. Yeah.
To be clear, like, I have no problem. I'm not like saying, well, gotcha.
Right.
But this is my question, because like, if you want to play a paladin who's dedicated to a particular code of conduct and a particular worldview, and you like a god is not part of that, rock it. Tell me the rest of it.
You're not out here god shaming people.
You want to play a paladin who's like, I don't have time for that. You know what? Like, Timanther, that's where you go. No.
Yep.
Dragonborn paladins are probably like Oath of Ancients and none of this other business.
Anna Prosser with her paladin.
Oh my God, Evelyn.
Yeah, Evelyn worships Lathander, the Morning Lord.
The Morning Lord.
The Morning
There's
Lord.
some, like, classic paladin deities. Like Torm is a big one. Tyr is a big one. Lathander.
Lathander, who derped his way into Divinity. That's why I've been so hard on Lathander lately. It's because I was messing with Anna about it. And then he just sort of lucked his way in.
But going back to the like, you don't need a god for the paladin thing. I had a friend ask me, like, how does that work? Because it's saying the error is like, how does that work if you don't have a god? I'm just like, you just believe in yourself so damn hard that you manifest it. And that made me realize, I'm like, oh man. And it's funny because at Neurological made a amazing TikTok recently about paladins. You should go watch it.
The biceps do the Lord's work, bro. Yeah.
But the funny thing is like, I had wanted to make like a gym going bro dude that just worked out so hard he gave himself divine powers. He just believed in the gym so bad.
Yep.
Oh my, Oath of Gains.
Oath of Gains.
that's what she wrote in the thread. She like, when I said, like, you understand me. She's like, Oath of Gains.
Yes.
Gains. Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't point out the new Lambert House shirts are here.
Yes.
Yeah, you can get them. Yay.
Go get them.
Go get them. And get them gains.
I'm a big fan of paladin. I mean, I in Brimstone Angels, there's a paladin of Ogma, Dal Peridor, who has fallen. Which is another thing we can talk about, fallen paladins. But I'm a big fan of, like, find a god that doesn't really fit the sort of classic aesthetic of paladin, and what's a paladin of that look like? So Ogma is a god of knowledge and records, and he's like a bard god in a lot of ways. So what's a paladin of a bard god look like? Is a big cite your sources nerd. So but yeah, so if we're gonna talk oaths, do we want to talk about the other ones?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think I think we've reached level 3 of a paladin. We can talk about those now.
Yeah.
I will say that is one weird thing that has always been for me, that you don't get your oath until level 3.
Yeah, you gotta try some things out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But
I just feel like this is so core to, like, becoming a paladin that it does seem kind of a little weird. I guess you're sort of more like a squire, a knight, the first couple levels, right? So you can do the fighting part.
I always like the idea that a level 1 to 2 paladin is just like, I just don't want to be locked down yet. I'm looking around. I'm seeing what's out there for me.
Smite shows up at level 2, so you can ride that horse away. I can tell you can ride that horse away. You know what's odd is mechanically, Paladin Cleric doesn't actually work very well, oddly enough.
Interesting.
Because of Paladins are charisma based and Clerics are wisdom based, and it can be done, but it's not quite like butter. Yeah. But yeah, it's a similar thing to the Bard College. that you choose. That it's funny. You can tell like the things that you were born with. Those things you have to define at like level 1 in most classes. Like sorcerers have to pick their bloodline at level 1.
Oh, that's a good point.
Then things that are like a byproduct of you having worked at it at least a little bit come at level 2. Like clerics pick their domain at level 2. Wizards pick their specialty at level 2. And then like groups you join, it's like you must be 18 to enter type thing. Like that's all level 3. So that's where the barbarians pick their totems, the paladins pick their oaths, the bards pick their colleges, all at level 3.
That's
yeah.
a good point.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we got here? There's just a bunch.
There's a bunch. Oath of Conquest.
I haven't played a paladin since the playtests, so I'm like, there's so many things now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, and they're joining all the time. First of all, you should join us, sister.
What I was gonna say is like, why don't we actually start with the Oath of Vengeance a little bit deeper? Yep. Since that was Salise's oath is. So what entails the Oath of Vengeance?
Let me give you the actual Oath of Vengeance, because you're right, it is very cool and it sounds like very edgelordy.
I gave it to I had a Minotaur Paladin in Ravnica that I gave it to because he was a Boros, which is basically just kind of like the cops. So when I saw when they had Hold Monster, I just imagined him going freeze.
The Oath of Vengeance, their tenets are fight the greater evil, no mercy for the wicked, which just seems great to say. Which is ordinary foes might win my mercy, but my sworn enemies do not. Yes. By any means necessary, in restitution, which if my foes wreak ruin on the world, it is because I failed to stop them. I must help those harmed by their misdeeds, which is great. And also not always, for all of these, every one of these can be evil gods can have paladins of this, like Oath of Conquest. A lot of them worship Bel out of Avernus, for instance. You know,
so Archon, paladin of Tiamat. Yeah,
exactly. It's not just oath breakers that can do badness.
You just gotta have a code, right?
Yeah,
Your
exactly.
code can be evil.
Yeah.
Exactly. True. I mean, I feel like I'm living proof of this. You know? So sometimes just choose the greater evil. Go with it. Yep. But yeah, it basically punishing wrongdoers by any means necessary is Oath of Vengeance, which, for the record, I think I told you guys this when we did Roll in the Family, the Slumbering Forest, and my girls played with me. I let them both take personality tests to figure out what the right class was, and my youngest is always an Elven Ranger, and my oldest got a Paladin, and she wanted to play a Tiefling because she found out demon girls were a thing. I'm like, dope, no problem. And so I'm talking to her and I'm like, okay, you're a paladin, you're a holy warrior. You can be about like helping people and healing people and like, you know, rescuing the sick and injured, or you can be about revenge and punishing monsters. She's like, revenge. And I was like, you're my child. Yes. So
I'm just gonna make you thigh bone into it, your femur into a sword one day. Yeah.
I mean, they both will. That's fine. I got 2 legs.
I'll say you're so tall that sword is gonna be like
true. It'll be a
it can't just be like the hilt. Like it's got to be the whole sword.
No,
Right. Like laying in like the inlay. Right. Sure. Yeah. Right. Of course. That's. Absolutely. I mean, yes, haunted sword, but haunted to your benefit type deal there. Yeah. Like, yeah. So that's what the Oath of Vengeance is. That it is. But I mean, there's lots of ways you could reskin that too. You could have, you know, your a Van Helsing type or a Blade type, you know, that are like, I exist to destroy monsters to help people or protect people at least. You know, lawful good doesn't mean lawful nice.
It's true. That's true. What's another one that we want? Because again, there are so many of them.
I don't know Oath of Conquest. I mean, I kind of guess from the way it sounds, but
yep. spread the gospel, douse the flame of hope is one of the tenets of the oath of Conquest, which is great. It is not enough to merely
person.
Yep.
It is not enough to merely defeat an enemy in battle. Your victory must be so overwhelming that their enemies' will to fight is shattered forever. A blade can end a life, fear can end an empire. So, which is just yes. Rule with an iron fist in strength above all. Yeah, that you break people, and yes, they do get dominate person and dominate beast. Yes,
I will break him.
a conquering presence. Mm-hmm. Yep. This is which is great, and this is one of the ones that a lot of evil gods lean this way, and I think you can see why.
I don't know how you would make that. That's one where I'm like, how do you reskin that as not evil?
Right?
Because you theoretically drop them on a bad kingdom, that it's like, again,
they're the Warhammer guys.
Yeah, they are the Warhammer guys. Yeah, exactly. Like, hopefully you just point them towards people who deserve to die and hope for the best. Yeah. Yeah. That's, that one can get out of hand pretty quickly, but it's, I love douse the flame of hope. That is so great.
That is evocative.
Yep.
And Oath of Devotion is kind of a classic paladin, yeah.
Yeah, that's the paladin. Like, even in the open gaming license, where you only get the one option, devotion is the option. Like, when you think back to OG times in like second edition and stuff, the idea of a paladin, that's devotion. Honesty, courage, compassion, honor, and duty. All of their, for the record, I think you probably know this, but all of the devotions have like more written about them. We're giving you the bullets.
Yes.
Because like Aaron said, there's a lot of them now.
There's a lot. But, having your sacred weapon, being able to turn undead and things of that nature, that's what the devotion paladins can do. They're sweet babies with big swords.
Sweet babies.
I feel like I would read that manga, by the way. Sweet babies with big swords. Yeah.
New project.
There it is.
Can we make this an epistolary novel?
Yea, I say unto thee.
We'll turn it into content. We outlined the sweet babies with big swords.
Sweet babies with big swords.
Earlier you mentioned Oath of the Ancients, which is another another one from the core rulebook. What is the Oath of the Ancients?
Sorry. Oath of the Ancients is one of the newer ones.
That's in the player's handbook.
Did it come out of the player's handbook? It all blends together for me at a certain point. They're Druid Paladins, basically. Kindle the light, shelter the light, preserve your own light, and be the light.
This is one of the ones that's sort of built for, like, you don't need to have a god, because it is very like you're kind of pulling back into tradition and into like the land and stuff. This one, Dungeon Scrawlers, we don't have a paladin, but we have an NPC paladin warlock Sarshan that kicks around, and he's
I like this.
The Ancients paladin.
Babylon Ranger 2261 in the chat says Druidins.
Druidin. It's not that.
It's not that.
What else is great? There's it's debatable, and it will come down to whether or not your DM allowed it at your table, because technically you have to hit with a weapon to smite. You can't punch and smite, theoretically. But if your DM allows claws and teeth as weapons, you could be a druid that wild shapes and a bear that smites. So smite bear.
Smite bear.
Smite bear.
You just put brass knuckles on your bear, right? That's a weapon.
Right. Theoretically, yeah, exactly. I mean, here's the problem. I'm that person. You know what I mean? That they're like, well, teeth aren't weapons. I'm like, cool. I'm gonna bite a knife, stab him with a knife, and bear smite him. Yeah,
Dark Soul style.
Like, I'm gonna have my canines replaced
exactly
by shards of metal.
Get some gold fronts. Yeah, exactly.
I try not to ask for fan art, but if anyone out there feels it in their heart to draw a bear smite, I would appreciate you forever.
Bear smite. I mean, remember, friends, that's what a druid is. A bear riding a bear that shoots bears. Yeah. So, and then bear smite. Yeah.
And the bears that shoot out have the smites.
Yeah, exactly. There it is. Although when you say
What a
they've got
nightmare we've made.
when you say they've got the smites, that sounds far more unpleasant than
It does.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Nasty case of the smites. Got to shake that off.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my god. All right,
And
what
then
do we got?
glory is again what Briv is, what previous iterations of Freely have been, and probably he still is, honestly. Especially when you read what they actually are about. It's being a hero, honestly. Actions over words, challenges are but tests. You must hone the body and discipline the soul, which quite frankly is how I live in like life. So, yeah.
I remember reading the UA for that one. We didn't officially know Theros was coming out, but for a difficulty class episode, Ellen and I were talking about it, and I was just like, "Oh, this is Hercules."
Yeah,
this is just Hercules. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, it changed slightly from the UA, but the principles are still there. And like one of the things they can use their channel Divinity for is to become a peerless athlete, so to like run faster and jump higher and be like strong. Yeah, which is a fun thing, especially because there was there's been 7 or 8 iterations of Freely now, but one of them was built around when he was a lore bard and Oath of Glory, where you have the peerless athlete, so you have bonuses on all of your grappling checks, and then cutting words to reduce their grappling checks. So just run in, take people down, and just hold them on the ground and smite them to death. And it's highly effective, friends, because when you're grappled, your speed drops to 0. You're like, you are staying with me. Yep.
Another one, this one I'm not familiar with. I think it might be from Xanathar's guide. Is Oath of the Crown?
Yes. Again, it is your this is like the knight errant thing that you were talking about. A knight errant. Ha 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 ha. But you know, if you're going for an Arthurian themed thing, like it's like I'm doing what I'm doing, not so much in the service of a divine entity, but in the service of my king or queen or emperor that is like quasi divine to me. Which again, it's all about the service to the sovereign, like law, loyalty, courage, and responsibility, things like that.
Definitely, like
Galahad.
I mean, it obviously it could be taken into an evil way, but it just kind of on the surface sounds like the goody two shoes.
Yeah, more than devotion. But this is great because they have the champion challenge, which is the come at me, bro, channel divinity, where you're like, fight me, fight me, fight me, fight me, you know, and they kind of have to, and it's great.
Actually, yeah, I want to try to remember to talk a little bit about channel divinities after we're done with the oaths. There was another one that
Oath of Redemption is one that we haven't done.
Yes.
Which is like violence is a last resort.
Yep.
Right? You should
Jedi.
use your ability to like convince people to change.
Yep.
It's
It's Jedi.
There was,
and part of me is like, I want to see this reskinned as a Paladin of Asmodeus.
Yeah.
Talk people into changing the
oh
other way.
yes,
That's but it's still just like, hey, be cool, man. You know what I mean?
cool.
And then I just step with me and through this flaming portal. Yeah, that's true.
That you made me think though, like trying to talk somebody down. There was an old recorded game from like over 10 years ago when 4th edition was first coming out, and they let some people from the audience come in and play with like Bob Salvatore, Ed Greenwood, and then Chris Perkins was running it, and one of the people in the audience was playing a paladin, and Chris Perkins was like, oh, there's a skeleton down the way, and the paladin's like, I would like to step forward and tell him he doesn't need to do this, and Bob Salvatore goes, well, in 4th edition lawful good still means lawful stupid. Okay, good to know.
It's true.
I loved that.
Also, for the record, I'd like to point out that Asmodeus only wants what's best for you. It's true. Like,
He's a god of happiness.
Look, he wouldn't be sitting over my shoulder every day if he wanted something bad. I'm just telling you.
I'm like, does that look like an untrustworthy face?
Look
Come
at
on.
him. Look at those brows. Do you know how long it takes to get those done?
It's true. And he has fabulous fashion sense, as we've established. I too want robes worth entire kingdom. Yeah.
Oath of the Open Sea is another one I'm very unfamiliar with.
This is a
see that
new
way.
one. This is still UA.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
That's why I couldn't
Yep.
quite get
Is this
into
a
the right thing.
Pirate Paladin?
Yeah, Sailor Pirate Paladin.
Wild.
Yeah.
Sailor Pirate Paladin.
That's exciting and strange.
It is, especially you get a couple levels of swashbuckler rogue in there, and you're all like careening down the
Okay.
ropes. And
I
I
then
have a
when
hard
you're
time
like,
wrapping my head around it conceptually.
which for the record, kids, you can backstab and smite on the same attack if you have that.
Good lord.
So yeah, so I found another site that had it up because I could only find a list. For some reason, D&D Beyond wasn't working for me, but it's created by Critical Role Dungeon Master Matthew Mercer. So yeah, so it's not official, and that's why I was confused. Welcome, thank you for going on this journey with me. Oath of
I am
the
intrigued by that. Just sorry, I'm gonna be chewing on this all day. So
I just imagine a dude in full armor staring at the ocean. I love you.
Just like kneel down the sword. I
Into
will
the
give
dock.
my life for you. Yeah. It is no greater life than a life lived free. Trust the skies, adapt like the water, and explore the uncharted. So it's like Firefly Paladins.
Oath of the Watchers is another new one, but is really freaking cool.
Yep.
It's not just because it has Watchers and it makes me think of Dark Souls 3.
Yep. You're protecting the world from extra planar creatures. Like your anti-mind flayers and beholders and things like that, because they aren't undead, but they still prey on the innocent.
fun.
That's also seems like a rough job to ease into. Like at level 3, you're like, I'm gonna go stop a mind flayer, and it's like, are you though?
Level
sure?
3, I've found my purpose.
Yeah. Okay. You know.
I did tell someone though, if they wanted to make the Doom Slayer, this is the order for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Doom guy. Like, especially if you were like a paladin artificer, which again would be weird mechanically, but you could make Doom guy.
Intriguing.
Yeah, you can make Doom guy. He might not work
totally
well,
could.
but you could do it. Yeah. Get him his armor, get him a gun, you know.
Talk about fallen paladins.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
Oath
Oath
breakers.
breakers.
Oathbreakers.
Hot takers. Oath breakers.
It's like previously you had to be a lawful good character to
Yes.
be a paladin, right? So if you
Yep.
broke off any lawfulness or goodness, your god
Yep.
could go yoink, you're not a paladin anymore.
Yep.
Um,
And back in the day, you know, if the game made the walls of alignment and stuff much higher and thicker, and then terrible DMs would make it worse, you know what I mean? And there's lots of stories of like, oh, you tripped up, you know what I mean? You had an impure thought, you lose your powers. It's like, oh man, come on, screw you, dude. You know, like, yeah. And you would become fallen, but in the old day, you just lost your powers, and then you had to go through a very complex process of atonement to get it back. Now you're like, well, you lose your powers, but you get better ones. You know? So like, yeah, you become like very pro undead, very pro necromancy. Yep. This works really well with a warlock, even though many of us are totally not warlocks.
Absolutely.
I believe, yeah, totally not a warlock. Exactly. Yeah. And you command undead, and a lot of your abilities are about rebuking the living and things of that nature.
I think too, like there's fun character stuff you can do with, like, if your paladin lives by this very strict code, if there are expectations and now those expectations are like not being met or can't be met, then what you do, like, you don't have to go full evil, but like, what does that turn into? And that's up to you at your table and your DM, like what you want to do. But there's lots of options, especially as it branches out. So like I mentioned, Dal Peridor from Brimstone Angels Saga. Dal starts out in his backstory as a very dedicated paladin to the god of knowledge, and then abruptly, for no apparent reason, he loses his powers. And it takes him many books to figure out the reason he lost his powers is because what he had dedicated himself to was the search for knowledge, was to bring knowledge to light. And instead, what he was really into was being right about stuff. And there's a difference there, because if you're just really into being right, you stop looking for reasons you might not know you might not know, right? You might know things, right? And so this is a case of Ogma going, you are actually hurting the cause now, yoink. So Dahl becomes more like a fighter who's also a ritual caster, because he was really good at that. I played a game, like I said, I played a paladin back in the playtest days, Vidania, who was an Oath of Devotion paladin to the paladin god, basically. Like, she was very into the paladining. And then woke up with this weird cursed sword from the homebrew world. So it was like a god of the moon, of the crossroads, right? So the traveler from Eberron, the god that's evil, but not the evil one. And so now she's getting powers from both sources, but the more she pulls on the moon god's powers, the more the god of paladining starts just turning it off. And so that was cool, because I had a DM who was into that. Susan J. Morris is amazing. And so I didn't always know what was going to work and which way I had to lean. And it turned out I was really good at lying, which is cool with the moon god, and not cool with the paladin god, the god of the empire. But he was kind of a dick anyway, so.
I like that. It turns out I was pretty good at lying.
Turns out.
That charisma is good for lots of things.
It is.
But it was lying to save my friends.
Yes.
Because Vidania was loyal, first and foremost, it turns out.
I do really
so
like
that idea.
Yeah, no, I really do like Oathbreaker now as the concept where you don't have to be devoted to just a god to have your powers, because it could be your oath is to a group of people, and I feel like as a DM it lets me play around more with that, where it's like, actually it turns out your group was jerks, and then they're like, I don't want to be that anymore, I'm an Oathbreaker, and you completely change the character instead of it being like, oh, it turns out your god was really Asmodeus or just
dun, dun.
Yeah, or just taking a god from D&D and just turning them evil for plot, and I'm like, I don't really want to do that. I am far more open to the concept of an Oathbreaker paladin now than I was before, because it did kind of always just seem like, oh, you're evil. Ugh. You go shop at Hot Topic now. Ugh.
Well, I mean, some of them did Hot Topic in advance. Also, now with some recent changes to how the subclasses work and things, there's the ability to switch oaths even now. I mean, I think it needs to make narrative sense.
Yes.
You know, but I mean, I could see how you're like, oath of devotion. You're like, oh, can't we all just get along? And then you watch like an orphanage get burned or something, and you're like, new plan, we cannot.
Oath of vengeance.
Oath of vengeance. Oath of vengeance.
Take them all out.
Yeah, plan B, you know? Yeah, right, yeah. Like you go from Hawkeye to Ronin. Yeah.
Before we pass it over to Chaz, is there any other things we want to touch on for paladins that you can
We're
think
gonna lay our hands on?
There we go. There were the
Divinity?
The channel divinity. Yeah. So what is the channel divinity? Because clerics also have channel divinity, correct?
Yes, but they do different things with theirs. In general, paladins have less uses and they do less wide-ranging things, which makes sense because they're like battle clerics. Yeah, once or twice, I think they can get up to 3 times. You can let the gods flow through you to do a thing, which again, some of them were the Oath of the Crown, like you make someone fight you. Unless you make many someone's fight you.
Fight me.
Yeah, literally, I cast fight me. Yeah. Yeah, which I've done. Glory had the peerless athlete, where it's almost closer to a barbarian's. Well, I was gonna say it's closer to a barbarian's rage, but it's not really. But you kind of like just turn it on and you have like a special effect that happens once. Some of them can turn undead like a cleric can, in all sorts of other things. So you just get like a divine boost 1 to 3 times a day. I think Channel Divinity comes back on a short rest,
like
though.
a daily spell from
I think.
Yeah,
kind of.
Don't blow the daily. That was sung many a time at my table.
Valid.
Yeah.
Wait.
Oh,
Channel Divinity? No, I'm just trying to look at Channel Divinity as once per long or short rest. Now it's going to bother me until I remember.
I think it's long rest.
Yeah.
I would want it to be short rest, but I think it's long rest.
We got.
But in Idle Champions, it's, you just do it. You've got the ultimate. You just use the ultimate. Just do it. Just have fun.
Oh, I know why I can't find it on Freely's sheet. He doesn't have it yet.
That would do it.
I'm like, why is this not here?
The same for Clerics and Paladins, presumably.
I think so.
I think
my cleric in my other game has it. I believe it comes back once a day.
Yeah, I think cleric for sure is long rest, and it's probably the same. It's just that the cleric ones are generally like harder, bigger things.
Yeah.
TC Hatchet in chat says short or long rest.
Oh, hey, okay.
All right,
Yep.
we will trust you. If you're wrong,
Yeah, we'll find you. Yeah.
Let's check in with chat. Anglis Park says Paladins use hammers, right? I mean, they can.
I mean, yeah, that's no longer a requirement. Back in the day, it was. Now they can
Really?
use it in anything. Oh yeah. Well, Clerics. Clerics had to use.
They had to use maces, I thought.
Yeah, they had to use blunt weaponry. Not anymore though. No, clerics use big old chunky swords. Or whatever.
Javelin.
Freely uses short swords. Yeah, javelins. It's true.
Tabletop Santa says, this is off topic, but who all is going to Gen Con? Will C&E Games be there? I don't currently know if anyone from C&E Games is going. They haven't announced anything about it. I literally realized when you asked that question that I have to think about those things now, so I don't know.
As of this exact second, I don't plan to be there in person, but who knows?
Same.
Yep.
I'm hopeful next year. But
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm recording
still
some stuff,
weird.
so I will be there in holographic form. Yeah.
B-Dave greets you as a hologram. Get in here.
Get over here. Yeah.
That's you just hear a producer off on the site. No, this is for a board gaming thing. I don't care.
Yeah.
Cassius 335. I'm going to presume the deck of many things doesn't include any. Oh God. This is Kuribo, which or Kuribo, which is a Yu-Gi-Oh card, and I hate that I know that.
Normally, I don't take pride in not knowing things because there's no glory in ignorance. But for this, I'm glad I don't know what you're talking about.
High school Treavor can never hide that. Catch 23. Mind Flayer freely. Like I was ritually attached to my brain this way.
He was a mind flayer for a long
was a
time.
mind
That is true.
flayer.
Yeah, which he wasn't taught to do. It just was one. Yeah, it's all true.
All
true.
Abyssal Drake 88 says, I think the magic comes from faith, potentially, as with Eberron or even WoW's light response to belief of conviction. Or belief and
go.
conviction. So yeah, something
it
like
was
that.
in you all along.
I mean, it's true. It was in here. The unquenchable desire for vengeance.
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine that? Especially the first time it goes off, where you're just like, and an explosion, and somebody's head just pops. You know, you're like, yeah.
I mean,
it
I
does
was
make
angry.
me curious, like not in a way that I'm like, you need to explain this when you have your character, but like, what makes that strong enough to make you go, "Yep, you're a paladin now." Right now, you have an oath of vengeance. That's how mad you are, versus just being like regular garden variety, ready for vengeance.
I mean, I've seen a lot of anime though. Anytime you get this scene, that scene, that's your paladin now. That's vengeance.
Also, Aaron, I'd like to humbly request that voice make more of an appearance on the show.
Neckbeard Aaron. Aaron.
I feel like sometimes when people when you start talking about lore, for some people that's the voice they hear because it sounds like you're saying you have to do everything exactly right. It's like, no, it's all made up and it's for fun. You don't have to do everything exactly right because there's no right. I do want you to explain stuff because I get excited about it, but
Welcome to Champions of Lore, a show where everything's made up and the tangents don't matter.
I mean, we're creating lore constantly by saying things publicly on the internet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cassius335 comes back and says, wonder what a Oath of the Plains would look like.
Ooh, interesting. I think that's a warlock pact.
Yeah, it's true. It's similar to the Watchers, I think, because that's what's out there. I mean, because most of these paladin things are calibrated towards fighting against a thing or defending against a thing. Like that's kind of the through line of like, what's the thing that should not be? And Watchers is like basically everything out in the plains shouldn't be there. And you know what? You are correct. I won't go get my juicy boy, but those of you that know.
You know. I actually kind of would I would want their channel Divinity to essentially be a banishment, but it's random what plane they go to. Like, they still have to make the save and everything, but I think that'd be fun where you could just be like, no.
Plane of fire.
Yeah.
And you get the plane of fire, and you get the plane of fire. Yeah, right.
Let's see. Evelyn Berserk. Evelyn worships Lathander? No idea. Didn't know.
Yeah, she never mentioned it. Yeah,
It's weird how she doesn't do that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, didn't even know she had a god.
Her quirk paladins are really multi-level marketing. Let's see. Cassius 335, presumably the opposite of nice. Alignment is naughty. Yeah, I mean, you could say that, I guess.
Chaotic naughty. Valid.
I like doing alignments like that. Pick one of the classic words, and then add a more descriptive word for your character.
Yeah,
because that tells me so much more.
Like
my chaotic neutral is not someone else's chaotic neutral.
Yeah,
chaotic genteel.
I forget what it was. Yeah.
I think I've said on the show.
Kavalar I said was reckless good instead of chaotic good.
I like
it's
that.
Just that you take out that step of like, should I think this through first? No, I should act.
It's valid.
The good part sticks, right? She's not doing things.
Yeah, I think people think Freely's chaotic good, but he's not. I actually think he's lawful good. I mean, he's like, there's just a way things are supposed to be. There's right and there's wrong. And let's go. Yeah.
And once again, I think I've said on the show for listeners and chat, but if you want to ruin a friendship, bring up what alignment the Punisher is. Evil Emperor Zerg says, thanks for my next PC, Treavor. Ivan Drago, Conquest Paladin.
I will break you.
Oh my god.
With a big vial of American steroids.
Cassius 335. Wait, so all of the Thundercats are devotion paladins?
I would say they're Oath of the Crown paladins. Yeah.
Chamber X77. I love this. Smiting morphing power druids.
That sells itself.
That does.
I think you've just created a new campaign.
Yeah, that sells itself.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Just get one artificer in there to like build some like construct machinery that they can all get inside, and yeah, you have it.
Let's see.
Or make them all warforged, so when they wild shape, they look like machinery. Yep.
Evil and Berserk is having some ideas today. So we're talking about adding the teeth in. Make sure the teeth are silvered, then you can bite vampires.
That's just good life advice. Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Just go full Brotherhood of the Wolf. Get your like thatch armor on your lion with like the metal bitey bit. Yeah.
There you go.
Obalorad, Doom Paladin, but this is D&D, so the only Doom I want is Deacon Bard Doom!
Bard Doom is the best Doom.
Yes. Let's see. Zafner, the double agent paladin, one who gets enticed by an opposing god to forsake their prior oaths, selling your soul stuff.
Could be valid.
Fun. Yep.
It's the Avon of souls.
Just show big armor with a sword, Avon calling.
I mean, you'd answer.
Yeah. Let's see.
Could be like Mary Kay, and then it's like pink heavy plate armor. Yeah.
I love that. Let's see. So why Sacristy? I'm sorry. I don't know how to say your name. I apologize. So why aren't all Pallies lawful good anymore? And I would really think it would be because there's more story availability.
Yeah.
Options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing stopping you from playing a classic level good paladin. Like that's absolutely available. But
yeah, there's no more alignment restrictions, period.
Yeah.
You know, because if you think alignment, I mean, it's still on the character sheet, but when was the last time, except for like protection from good and protection from evil, when was the last time it even came up? You know,
Yeah.
I mean, you can have lawful good warlocks and not just Celestial Pact. Like, I mean, you could have a lawful good warlock with a Pact of the Great Old One that probably has some explaining to do.
they probably have a lot of like cognitive dissonance.
Yeah. A lot of bad dreams.
Tentacles just beating the crap out of bandits. Are like, this is fine. No, everybody's having a nice day.
Oh, cue your inner evil and all praise the tentacled Lord. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. No, I can't quite remember. Is it? I think it's a cleric thing though, where like your god can only be like a certain degree away from your alignment or something.
That's not a thing anymore.
It's not a thing anymore either.
Yeah, it's not a thing anymore. Yeah, it used to be.
I love it. I love it.
I feel like what I also love in that is that if this were like at my table, either if I'm a player or the DM, because if I'm the player, I'm just gonna bug you till you tell me, like, why has that god like given you power, right? If there's this difference, because there's going to be a reason, and the reason could be so interesting, right? Like Farida is neutral good, and she's the chosen of Asmodeus because, you know, there's things she can do that he's totally fine with, right? Like, you know, that actually works out for me, thanks. And so like if you're going to be apart from your alignment, like there's a story in there, tell it to me.
I could see, I think the obvious one is this evil god wants to bring this good person down, but I would love to see a character that believes they're going to redeem this god.
Oh my god.
I can change him.
I can change him.
I can change him.
Yep.
That would actually be really. I actually kind of want that as a warlock, also, though.
Just no one has loved Arl enough up until now. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, we adding this as a love triangle to the Raven Queen.
Exactly.
He's like, I can make her smile. I know it.
Just Arl and Umberly. You know what I mean? Just I will love you through it. Yeah.
Oh my god. Oath of the Seas Paladin who's trying to redeem Umberly.
Yes.
I love it.
And she's just full Dread Pirate Roberts. Like, he keeps calling and I keep answering. I'll kill him tomorrow, probably.
I know that everyone calls her the sea bitch, but she's my sea bitch.
You don't know her like I do.
You don't know.
Exactly.
You don't know her like I do.
Literally. You don't know the side of Umberly that I know. Yeah.
Oh, you don't know her like I do. That's nearly killed me.
And then imagine you roll Divine Intervention and it works, and you just kind of have this exasperated Umberly that just doesn't know why she cares, and she's like, "Well, okay, fine.
Yeah, you know.
Just don't tell anybody." Yeah. And you're like, "I love you, Mom."
But I think that is all the time we have for lore and whatever other things we said today. Friends, where can people find you and what awesome things you're working on?
You can find me on Twitter at Erin M. Evans. You can catch me later today at 6:30 on twitch.tv/Dungeon Scrawlers, where I will be playing D&D with a bunch of fantasy writers. I think we might have a cool announcement about next week that I'm not sure is completely set up, but yeah, so we'll talk about that next time. And you can listen to me talk about writing with these guys on the podcast, Writing About Dragons and Shit.
New episode went up today. Yeah.
Where can't you find me?
That's fair.
That's probably a shorter.
It's true. Although, believe it or not, I have 3 free nights a week now, which is weird. Don't get me wrong. I say free. I do other stuff, but yeah, it's weird that I'm like, this is it for today. Great. Be Dave Walters. I say words about things. You can find me all over the interwebs, over fine streaming content can be located. Get your Lambert House shirt. They're available now. Into the Motherlands Kickstarter, we're less than $1,000 from our $250,000 stretch goal.
Yes.
So check that out. And Thursdays at 4 Pacific on D&D Twitch and YouTube for a wee bit of the old Ravenloft on the Black Dice Society. A little bit of the terror. Minor.
I do actually want to add that Codename Entertainment is doing something with Lambert House as well. For today and tomorrow, you can do DLC in Bushwhackers that will go to Lambert House, and for the next 2 weeks, Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms and the Crusaders of the Lost Idols. Sorry, I didn't have my thing up, so my brain's all over the place. There will be DLC in those games for the next 2 weeks that you can purchase to support Lambert House as well. So please check that out. You can find me on the difficulty. Yeah, see, I can't word. You
just did a lot of wording that was very good.
You hold it together. You're almost there. Hold it together.
You can find me on the Difficulty Class podcast every Friday and on Tuesdays here on twitch.tv/CND Games at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for Champions of Psychology. And we are rounding out this season and we need more suggestions, so please send them our way. I want to thank Jay for moderating the chat as always, and thank you to Codename Entertainment for letting us talk about some D&D and have some fun. If you missed any part of this show, you can listen to it later as a podcast at 2 p.m. on your favorite podcast service. And if you have any suggestions for lore that you might want us to talk about in the future, you can send those into championsoflore@codenameentertainment.com. I believe Mars is postponed today, but if not, Jay will yell at me in the text document, which I will keep open until I am done talking. So if that is the case, enjoy the rest of your day. I feel like I'm forgetting something, and I probably am, and I will apologize for it later on Twitter. But that is going to do it for this week's episode. So until next time, Champions out.